Welcome to my patio and your simple hip mobility test, or hip space mobility test, I suppose is a better way to put it. Welcome to my patio and your simple home hip mobility test, or I should probably say hip capsule space test. Now, if you've had chronic low back pain, chronic issues, you've had it for years, no matter what you do, pain, stress, tightness, all that just keeps coming back. One of the most common issues is the fact that you actually don't have enough space in your hip joint. Pretty simple. Now, as your hip moves, because you've got a ball and socket joint in here, as this moves a little bit inside the capsule, right? So if you need some space in here, right? If you don't have enough space, what happens is that bone hits that bone. That's really, really bad, or it would be if it did happen, but your nervous system, your body knows that this is going to happen. So generally speaking, as you go to move your leg, it'll just stop your leg moving. And it does that by tightening everything up. And that's great because you don't want bone rubbing on bone in your hip. You can imagine if that happens over time, it's really bad because you tear your labrum apart, you'll create bone spurs, you'll be getting surgery. So it's good that your body does this, but what it means is that you're now tight all the time. And like that's fine for a week or a month or whatever, because it's every time you move. Like every time you sit down, your leg has moved. Every time you put your shoes on, every time you get in your car, all these other things. And once again, that's fine for a day or a week or a month or even 6 months. But a year or 2 or 3 or 4 years later, you've now had a body that doesn't move properly. And now you've had joints and spine and all this kind of stuff that doesn't work, but you're tight all the time. That's the reason why no matter how many massages you get, no matter how much stretching you do, it all just comes back. Because you're taking away your body's ability to protect you, but then later that day or the next day, when it gets the ability to contract again, it will because you haven't fixed the problem. Right, now rotation matters because, well, the more you can rotate, the more space you have. And you just need enough space in here to have freedom of movement to move your leg around. But if you can't move and rotate, that means you don't have enough space. When you can rotate, more space. So more rotation, more space, less rotation, less space. So here's a quick little test for you. So first of all, we're going to do hip internal rotation. So that's this way. What's really important here though, is that we are looking to find how much space is in your hip, which means we need to see your femur rotating relative to the hip. So that means the hip can't move. What I mean by that is this. This is me not rotating my femur, just lifting up my hip. As you can see, I've lifted up my hip. Now it looks like my leg is rotating, but it's not. We need this to stay down, and we need that to just rotate your leg. The other thing that you can't do is let your knee go out, let your knee drop down, because your nervous system's going to think, oh, you want your foot out, it's going to do all these things. You're going to lean over, you're going to rotate. Do your best not to do any of that. Keep everything still and just boom. So one way to look at it is think if you've got a laser pointer at your knee, that's pointing forward, that doesn't move. As soon as it moves a little bit, reset, go again. Another little cue that might help is think about your glutes on the bench here. As soon as that glute gets a bit light on this side, that means the hip's raised up a little bit. So do your best to see how far can you rotate just your femur that way. So that's your internal rotation. Then you'll do your external rotation. Same thing, you're just going to rotate the other way. So you can either just move that leg out just a little bit to have space, or I like to just bend my knee a bit, then I've got some space. Now what I'm going to do is do exactly the same thing. I'm just going to rotate the other way. But the same as this side, or the internal, you need to make sure that your leg stays still. What you're naturally going to do as you do this is that knee will just drop out. Now I know this is going to sound a bit weird, but probably 80 or 90% of you that do this, your leg's going to drop out, you're going to look at it, and you're not even going to know. So maybe record yourself, watch it back later, maybe have a mirror in front of you, something like that, but pay attention. So don't let the knee drop out, and don't let the knee come up, and don't lean over. So once again, everything stays perfectly still. This is a fixed axis, and we're just rotating to see how far you can go that way. How much rotation capacity do you have? I'm going to throw one caveat in here. If you're hypermobile, this is not for you. Or you can do this, or you should do this, but there's an extra part that you need to do. So if you're hypermobile, it's not so much about how far can you rotate. What it is how much of a gap is there between how far you can actively rotate versus how far you can passively rotate. So a passive is a stretch. So if you're hypermobile, do all of that exact same thing, but then check your passive range as well and compare the two. So this is what I mean. So let's go. That's my active range for external rotation. I'm going to pop my hand on here, get my hand underneath here, and then I'm going to pull into a stretch. Notice that as I do this, I'm not lifting my leg. It's staying still because I'm comparing the two. They've got to be in the same place. As you can see for me, I've got about a 10 or 15 degree gap. If I go internal, I've got about a 10 or 15 degree gap. If I do my wrist, I've got about a 10 or 15. If you've got bigger than that 10 or 15 degree gap, then that's going to be a problem. And rather than you not having enough space in your hip capsule, what that means is your leg can now get into places that you can't control, and your body will be protecting you from that too. That's something else entirely. If you're not sure what to do with the results from these, obviously feel free to drop a message or comment below, I should say. But what I would probably recommend is go to my Instagram page, which is ShaneWarne_fitness, and send me a message there, send me a DM there, and just let me know sort of how it went. If you've got any questions about what you did, you can obviously let me know there too. Feel free to, if you want to like even just record yourself doing it, make sure you're doing it right. I'm more than happy for you to send over a video over there for me too, so I can sort of give you some pointers and tips. But either way, that's your test. If you can only, you'll see, if you can't move this shit, or if you can't move, you'll probably find a lot of you are actually going to try and move, and you literally won't be able to keep your leg from moving. That's when you know you got some issues. Anyway, have fun. Let me know how you went.